Hi guys, it's Sam with Spieler Custom Baits. Today we're going to be tying a football jig. We're going to start off with one of these arbitine style football jigs. And we're going to go ahead and use a safety pin to clip back this weed guard to give us a little bit of room to work with. I cast these jig heads and painted them earlier. And we're going to start off with a 120 denier thread. We're just going to go ahead and get a good layer right along that first weed guard collar. And we're going to go ahead and cut off this tag end. And just put a couple more wraps around. And we're going to be using two different types of tabs today. We're going to be using a clear with black flake, and it's got a little bit of a blue mica sheen to it. And we're going to be using two tabs of this today. Kind of get that on there exactly where I want the skirt to lay. Get a few loose wraps in, and then reposition it to where I want it to be. We're going to be using two of these to get a nice full look along the outside of the jig. And I like to use these clear skirt types on the outside of the jigs, and then use a block color to kind of fill them out on the subsequent tabs. Get a few loose wraps in here, and then readjust to where I want it on that jig. And we're going to tie it in. And now we're going to grab a couple tabs of white, and we're going to go along the outside of the clear. These block colors do really well of filling out the jig and giving it just a better profile. And with our second white tab, Now we're going to clip up front just to kind of keep it out of the way as we whip finish. And we're going to get our usual 2 whip finishes in this. Because of the bulk from the jig, whip finishes end up being a lot slower than normal. But I'd rather have it slower and controlled and get 2 good knots in there. And pull that down and tighten that in. And I like to get 2 in whenever I can. And that should hold our skirt in place. And we'll go ahead and cut our thread. And we're going to use a little bit of hard head just to make sure that those fibers don't come loose easily. Alright, now we're going to take our piece of wire. I like to use silver with my white colored jigs just to not create too much of a contrast in color between the jig tie-in and the skirt. And after a couple good wraps, we're going to twist this up. This wire is thin enough that I can get a couple good twists just with my fingers before having to use pliers to really tighten down. So I go ahead and get those twists in. And then I take my pliers to finish up and get some nice tight to the collar twists in. Then we take our wire cutters and we're going to cut about 3 to 4 wraps up, and then we're going to bend those wraps back up in against the collar of the jig. Take off that safety pin, bend our weed guard back. We're going to take the back end of the skirting, try to grab all the tabs by the end and realign them here. And now we're going to cut our skirt. And we're going to do the same to the front. Now we have our finished jig. You can see how much that block coloring adds bulk to that jig while still retaining the color pattern on the outside of that jig. And that's our finished jig. Thank you guys for watching.